Hey guys, got another video here coming out tonight, another video. Okay, so I didn't think I'd do another video today, but I wanted to talk about something. Frustrated. I'm just so frustrated. I'm just going to talk about this. So I have a video coming out that I already put out when I was walking to work today, and it should be uploading any minute. And it's about the crap you got to put up with at work, right? Just so much crap you got to put up with. I stayed home for years, like when my kids were younger, and then you get crap no matter what. You get crap the minute you walk out of your house, right? You have things that happen. And and then I worked off and on. I tried to do a newspaper route. That was really hard when my kids were allergic to it. One of my sons was allergic to the ink in the newspaper. So then I'd go back home. I'd make sure, dad, was watching him, and then I was pregnant, so I had to stop, and then I was pregnant again for the third paper route, and I just could not get up. I was extremely tired with my fourth born. Here I am with three kids, and I'm pregnant, very pregnant with my fourth born, so I had to let that one go. Um, plus it's not always good for your vehicle to do a newspaper route. So, did this video, and I talked about this. You will see this on here. You can watch that video about the crap I had to put up with this week. Like, one person at one job was like, I'm like, how do you put this in the computer? And they're like, oh, you put it in like this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I'm asking. If you don't know something, you ask. I've been told many times, if you don't know something, ask. And at other jobs. And one of my last jobs, she's like, if you don't know something, Melissa, ask. I'm like, I did ask. And I thought she told me to put cheese in the salad. So I had somebody who didn't really want to help. And I find that is happening a lot over here. People who don't want to train you. They just don't. Companies that don't want to put the time into the training. I was talking to somebody about this, and they're like, you will find most companies around here don't want to do the training. It's easier to hire people who they think are the best of the best than to do the training, honestly. So, so I talked about, in this video how I said to this girl, how do you do this? Then they make the food wrong, and they're like, no, this is not how you put it in. And I go, look, I just asked you, and you literally just told me this is how you put it in. Now, I haven't had a whole lot. I haven't said much at work because I don't. I just don't. Growing up, I haven't said much at work. There's been times I'm like, I'm sick of this crap, right? And I'll just be like, I'm finding another job and I'm not staying here. Um, but something new I had talked about had happened because she was offended about that. Then another order, I said, how do you put this in? She said, go light, light. So I put the order in light, light. And she's like, no, this is wrong. I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking the blame for this because you told me this is how you do it. So this is on you. So then I talk about how I sat down with the boss. He's like, how are things going? And I said, well, I had a little bit of a situation. She was trying to tell me there was an order that wasn't, what happened with this one? Oh, there was an order that somebody didn't get. And I'm like, no, that name was on there. She's like, you got to check when people pick up. I'm like, I did. There was a Austin and there was this name on that order. So I did check the phone before I handed out the food. So I'm like, what the heck is happening, right? So I talked, my boss is like, I said, I had a situation, no big deal, but I had a situation. And he's like, do you want to talk about this? I'm like, yeah, I do. So I've never sat down with the boss and actually like really talked about things, like totally hashed it out. And when I told him what happened, he's like, well, we have high expectations from you because you have experience in the restaurant business. And I was like, yeah, I do. And I'll tell you right now, because I have like so much experience, you're not really training me, right? So I came out with it and I just told him how I felt and I talk about that on my video and it went well. He kind of backed off and was like, well, you are new and she tends to, wear her frustration on her sleeve and all that. Got through that. That was one issue. Um, yesterday cleaning, that went well, but then we had someone trying to get extra money with something, saying something wasn't done when it was done. So that had to get resolved. And that I just let my boss, like, I'm contracting with people, so I just let them deal with it. We had a tip. When I did the walkthrough at the end, the guys came by. They were extremely happy with the work. The big guy said, oh, this was missing. I said to the company, I said, too bad, you know? When we got through that walkthrough, they said they were happy. They had a chance to take pictures. They checked everything. There was a crack in the tub. There was a crack on the stove. You know, everything was covered. So if you find something after we leave that you didn't think was done, even though it was, too bad. Done deal, right? We walked out. We're not coming back. So there was that. So I got through that. And then today, you know, I did this video on this. Like, when you go to work, have a mindset that you're not going to put up with crap, basically. So good thing I had that mindset on today, because I go into work and I'm like, look, did you want me at 1 or at 4 today? Because you told me before you wanted me on at 1, but the schedule says 4. And he's like, yeah, no, you're at 1. And I'm like, okay, I thought you said that, although you wrote 4. And he's like, yeah, and you know, what happened last night? And I'm like, look, I have nothing in writing from you that you wanted me to work last night. And he's like, remember when you had orientation? I said, I'm going to give you a 2-week schedule. Do you have a schedule? I'm like, I don't remember getting one. So he comes out and he brings out a copy of the schedule. I'm like, oh, that thing? Yeah, I go, I have that. And you actually put, I talked to so-and-so in the kitchen, and you put right here that I'm starting in July. And so I said, and then you said, even though at 4, you wanted me for 2 Sundays at 1, and then you told me that you didn't have me last Sunday because you didn't have anyone to train me. So there's been a lot of confusion right off the bat. And one of the managers was like, how's your training going? And I'm like, I've only had 2 days of training here, and I'm on my 3rd one, because he didn't have anyone to train me. And I told him I think I want to get the menu down better, so he's probably giving me more time. That's what I figured. So we talked, and he's like, I'm just going to chalk this up to a miscommunication. I said, okay. So we moved on from it. No big deal. So then I had my 3rd training today. And this time I actually got to use the POS and put orders in. And, you know, I was going through it. You know, I heard good job. Friday night, good job. Last Friday, I had a day Saturday with someone who was like too busy to really train me, because it was a madhouse over at this place. Total madhouse. So tonight, you know, it was slow, but it was steady. It was very steady. So, you know, I'm just watching, and I'm trying to, you know, go behind her and put orders in on my little tablet, and, you know, make sure I'm doing the right steps that need to be done. So I hear, good job, you got this. I'm like, okay, this is all coming together, piece of cake. I've got passion, I'm motivated, everything. Well, Saturday night I had gone in, and I'm like, hey, I just got a phone call, you know, and I talk about this in a video. You know, you said that you had me on the, you know, what was the phone call about? Well, you were on the schedule. And I'm like, I haven't had any communication about it. So this person calls me, the same person calls me into, like, you know, she has me follow her into the office with the big manager, and she's like, do you have any, are you struggling with anything? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm fine. And then, you know, the big boss pipes in and said, well, we got some feedback that you're struggling with stuff. And I'm like, no, all I've been told is, like, I'm doing good. And they're like, well, you know, people want to be nice. They don't want to be mean. And I'm thinking, this is my 3rd day to learn a huge menu. I'll show you. This is, I'll try to be discreet which company this is with. But I have a book here, okay, to learn. This is small print. All the drinks, all the food, the process of everything, right? I have to learn everything on here. And it's I had to have 3 days of computer training that I took in 2 days to hurry up the process and get everything down, everything. And so I go into the office, and I have never in my life ever in a restaurant had a conversation like this today. So they're like, well, we don't know if you can do it. And I'm like sitting there in shock, like this is literally like my third day, and they expect me to know everything. They're like, this usually mid training, you get 5 days and you're on your own. And if you get out on that floor and you can't do it, you ruined us basically. We have a reputation for being an extremely good restaurant, very busy. We only want the best of the best. Now, I've been in the waitress business since I've been like 14, 15 years old. I know something about waitressing, and I'm told often what a good waitress I am. Good waitress, right? But I'm thinking, where the heck is this coming from, right? I go, did you hear something bad about me? Because I'm thinking, what is going on? Because the boss says, I'm going to steal so and so from you and talk to her. And then she came back and she brings me into the office to kind of talk to me. And they're like, no, we just wouldn't be doing our job unless we tell you this is what we expect. These are our expectations. So I'm sitting there and I am offended, and I'm trying not to take offense. I'm like, Melissa, don't take offense. It's not personal. It's not personal. And then I'm like, where the heck is this coming from? Because she goes, so we don't know if you can do this. And I'm like, I can do it. This is fine. I'm good. It's all great. How are you feeling about things? Fine. So, these people are desperate for help, and they want the best of the best, period. And even my trainers, like, it took me forever to get this stuff down. And I'm just like, is this really what we're talking about? Are we really talking about this? Or is there something else we're talking about? So, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. And so she's like, let me tell you right now, you should have been in on those 2 days of training you missed. I'm like, yeah, I had my phone mess up, and I did not get any communication in writing. And I even showed my boss, I'm like, look, I have nothing from you. So that was picked up again, and you should have been in. And it was like a no-win situation. So she goes, look, no more excuses from you. You're going to take this job serious, as if I wasn't taking it serious. And you need to get it down, like, right away. They're like, we've invested in you and you need to get it down. And I've never had this happen in a restaurant. Never. I'm like, what the heck? Talk about discouraging me. I was all motivated, and then so now I have to think about, do I want this? Do I want this? I mean, I was so ticked off when I left there. I'm taking a break right now from The Chosen. I get home and my son's like, do you want to watch The Chosen with me? And I'm like, I'm too mad right now to do anything. I am too ticked off to do anything. And I was so mad, my first reaction was, get in there and kill it. That was my first reaction, because I am very determined. I had a couple naysayers tell me I couldn't homeschool. I homeschooled for 30 years, and I did a good job with my guys. All of them homeschooled. All of them. My son went in the military, right? Because homeschoolers have to have a higher score than public school kids to get in the military. So I did a good job. What they choose to do with their life after is up to them. But 30 years I was committed to it. And so I was told I couldn't homeschool. I'd probably ruin my kids' lives. That really irritated me, so I homeschooled. I got it done. I was told once to make something out of my life. So I graduated early from school. Then I went to college, and I just didn't want the college atmosphere. I didn't understand at the time that, people who are down to earth and real jobs were important to me. So, here it comes again, right? So I'm sitting there, and I kind of backed up, and I'm like, they don't know me. They don't know you, Melissa. If someone says you can't do something, you know yourself, and you know you can do anything you put your mind to. And I can. I mean, I just said I wanted to start a business, and I just started my cleaning business. So I'm the type of person, if someone tells me I can't do something, I will get so ticked off, I will do it just to spite someone. So I'm like, I said to my son, okay, fine, I'll take a break. I'm steaming. I'll watch The Chosen and get my eyes on God. Maybe that will help me calm down. I mean, I was literally steaming, not literally like coming out of my head, but I'm like, I'm blinded by my anger right now. I can't even see straight for the way I was treated. I mean, you're telling me someone like me who's worked at the Broadmoor, I worked at, fine dining, I've done mom and pop, I've done corporate, I've done it all in the restaurant business, and you're telling someone like me, I'm just like, what the heck? And the thing that I had a hard time with was the negative side of seeing this. Instead of saying, hey, how do you learn? I should have said, do you want to give me an example of what you're talking about? Because when I learn, the way I learn, it's kind of messy. I'm not like a straight learner. I get a little bit of this and then a little bit of that and a little bit of this. So I'm kind of all over the place when I learn. So I'm just like, this is unbelievable to me. So I'm watching The Chosen. This actually did help me. I'm like, look at John the Baptist. John the Baptist did nothing wrong. He was beheaded, did nothing wrong at all. Kind of took the edge off for me after watching The Chosen. It was really, a sad scene to rewatch that again and see how John was treated just because people are evil, and you look at the Bible and you're like, the things you go through in life are nothing. I have a friend whose wife had left him and cheated on him with his cousin. That's pretty bad, right? Um, you just have people, you see their lives and you're like, holy cow, how did you get through that? And it takes the edge off when you get mad. You're like, okay, don't take this personal. And so I had to calm down and I'm like, try to see their heart. Try to see the heart of it is that they're actually just trying to communicate and tell you this is their expectations and you better make sure you can do it, because if you can't, they're like, if you can't do it, we're going to make our assessment and let you know what our decisions will be. And I'm just thinking, this is just a job, right? I mean, I've had so many jobs, they come and go, and, if you're trying to threaten me with a job, it ain't going to work. But, just try to see their heart and think the best of them and be like, okay, they're just really needing dependable people, reliable people. I said to this guy tonight, the manager, I said, I'm not somebody who doesn't show up for my job. So, you didn't really communicate well with me. So, people don't know you. They don't know you. So I had to sit there and think, do you really want this job, Melissa? If you're starting off kind of rough for the last couple things, interactions here have been a little bit rough. So I didn't walk out. I had said, okay, so, is it time to clock out? And she said, yep. And so I went back to my trainer and I said, hey, what are we doing here? And she's like, make sure you get this training too. You're going to need this training. Do you want to watch me do it? I'm like, yeah, I'll watch you. And she's like, well, the customers aren't done yet, so we're not going to be able to cash out until they're done. And she goes, just make sure you get it in the next 2 days. I'm like, okay, fine. So, I didn't quit. I don't, it's gotta be a good reason for me to be like, I quit. Most of the time it's just, I'm like, oh yeah, this job's gonna work better for me at this time in my life. So, I need to seriously think about, this is a logical situation. I need to think about, am I really going to put all this effort in to this company right at this point, mid training, and what's it going to look like? Because the expectations are high, and I know if I put my mind to it, I can do it. But there's a lot of moving parts here. There's things that are always changing in this restaurant. It's a restaurant that changes things on a regular basis. She's like, there's a lot of moving pieces to this restaurant. There's a lot of wild cards, things that you may not see that are going to come up. So it's taking some time now to look at everything, see how I feel about it, and say, is this place going to be worth it? Because it is, they just cut their runners. They're no longer having runners. You have to run your own food, which I've always liked running my own food anyways, because you keep that connection with your customers, right? I don't like people running my food because they can give them the wrong thing, or they just, when I was up at the Broadmoor, they were very picky about the waiters about their tables. And at first I was just like, wow. Like I went up to a table and I said to a lady, "Man, I love your hair. It's so beautiful." And she's like, "Thank you," and we got started talking. I think we were talking about hunting. And someone came up to me after and said, "Hey, that's my table." And I just don't go to someone's table and talk to the customers because that's their table. And I said, "Oh, okay, didn't know." And the thing that they had an issue with this person was they kind of had a silent policy that you don't go to other tables, because if you say something that their customer might not like, it's going to affect their tip. It's going to make them look bad. So they just really wanted, you know, waiters or staff to stick to their own tables. So, I mean, I can see that. I can see their point. But with, runners, I felt like there's more of a chance with runners. Like a waiter has control of their table. If you say something, you can probably save the day. But runners, I felt like it can help, but a lot of times they're just like dropping off food. They're not having a conversation. They're not saying, "Do you need anything else?" or anything. So I feel like I don't really care for the runners. And I've been a runner before where you're doing, this is what happened at Red Robin. I was doing the same amount of work as a waitress, but not getting paid as much. And that's why I left Red Robin. I was like, look, I'm doing just as much work and I'm not getting paid for it, so this is not going to work for me. So that is one job. There was nothing wrong. It's just I don't like being a runner because, that's taking money out of my pocket. So, yeah, so I need to think about this because they have more expectations than any place I have ever seen, including the Broadmoor, which is a 5-star restaurant. So I'm just, I'm trying to think the best of them and just be like, give it another chance. You had a rough start. You haven't really gotten a lot of training. They said, "How's your training been?" And I've been like, first night was great. Second night, I didn't really have the training because we were too busy. So this is like really only my second training. And they're like, "Well, we felt like you should have had enough time to look at the book and, figure this out." And I'm like, "Look, I've just moved. I have another job. I remember one, was it Broadmoor? Yeah. They expected you to do regular homework. And I said, "Are you paying me for this?" And they're saying, "No, this is something you have to do on your own." I'm like, "Look, you should be paying me for training. That's my time. I don't have all the time in the world to give to you guys." So, yeah, that's kind of what's going on. I'm going to go back and watch The Chosen, and, you know, Jesus was misunderstood. It's like, you don't know me. I've had 5 kids. I've raised a family. You don't think I can handle this? So, I didn't like the negative talk. I didn't like the doubt and it's discouraging. What motivates me is people who encourage me. And threats don't work with me because I beat to a different drum. People who threaten me actually make it worse. I don't listen to threats. So that's kind of how I am. So I'm just trying to take it with a grain of salt and say, okay, make sure you can do it, Melissa. And if you can't, let them know. Be honest. Do you really feel like you can do this? So I'm going to look over everything. I'm not a beer drinker. I did go there one day. I had tested the beers. I thought I might like them because they're craft beers, and I didn't like any of them. So, they serve a lot of alcohol, so I need to make sure I can do this. And, I've seen notes already that this is changing and that's changing, and I need to be able to make sure I can do it. I think I can, but now after this, is it just, what will my response be? Will it be take this job and shove it, or will it be ride the waves and prove yourself? So that's what I need to think about. Okay, thanks for joining me today, everybody. I've had like, 4 videos out. Have a good one, guys.